made to be used in these kind of circumstances when we talk about the general gist of like how to use these POCs, right? Like a POC in itself is nothing good or inherently bad, but if they become, for example, quickly adapted to work with Cobalt Strike or Metasploit, then it's bad, because then everyone can use them, and then everyone will use them, as we will see. All right, data. Since we're talking mainly about Cobalt Strike today, as you heard in the beginning, I wanted, together with Alexander, we did kind of a deep dive into our internal data and sources on this one. And I want to just quickly go over some aspects of this. So in these kind of things, we have the popular pen testing and training tool Cobalt Strike, deploys a powerful agent called Beacon. We will talk details later in this workshop. And the source code was leaked in November 2020. And allegedly, but it was quite real. I've seen the GitHub repository. And it provides wide functionality and adaptability. In general, in security circles, this is one of the best tools available for exploiting and attacking internet systems. It also has been around for a long time. Criminals and state actors have both used it for cracked versions, even long before the source code was leaked. But if we're thinking about the source code that has been leaked, we're talking about a whole nother level. So what we have here is basically like a collection of data and reports, 120 plus OSINT reports since 2020 that indicate a wide usage of Cobalt Strike among numerous different groups, right? And as you can see, the biggest part is, of course, the none part, because there's no direct attribution possible in these kind of things. But we can see a cluster of activity focused on, for example, APT29. But also TA505. You also see like a good portion of this is REvil, and also the large source group, right? Like, because it's a common and popular tool to use among state actors and criminal threat actors. And wonder, when the source code leaked in November 2020, a lot of OSINT reports suddenly referenced these kind of visibility issues. Like, there's no doubt about this, and as you can also see, it remains over the last 12-month period. It remains on a relatively high usage throughout. After the first kind of the novelty of the source code wore off, but like this, as we say, right? Like, it's in general, the main driver is the powerful and versatile functionality of this is recognized and is used by threat actors already. Then the source code becomes available, and then everyone and their dog is using it. And we come to the conclusion. That was quick. In general, if we look at the threat landscape, we recognize that commercial and free tools are adapted by a wide range of threat actors, state and criminal. We have everyone using this, not only in concentrated campaigns, but also in very interesting fringe cases that are very specific to certain exploit frameworks. State actors, if you remember, usually focus on more modified versions. Criminals use the whole deal because they know they can do it and they know they have the infrastructure to use it. These tools can offer a wide range of capabilities and advantages to threat actors. Also clear, we talked about this, it's easy to use, it provides a lot of functionality. And as we have seen, at least in the case of Cobalt Strike, but in my own research and my own work over the last 12 months, and even before that, we can see that year by year, the usage of all of these offensive and freely available tools is increasing. Sometimes in a way that is beyond actually imagination, as we can see, for example, when the source code of Cobalt Strike leaked in November 2020, but also sometimes in ways that we don't really expect, right? Like where a POC framework or an expert framework is easily adapted to a certain tool, and then every cybercriminal actor is using that specific tool because they know it takes a lot of time to fix a vulnerability that this POC is exploiting. Are there positives? We will hear more about this, but like I'm actually thinking you already know kind of or feel the positives that are actually like coming out of this. If everyone is using the same tool and then none of them is, can we actually maybe identify something in Cobalt Strike that helps us detect them? Can we actually identify maybe something in Cobalt Strike, for instance, that maybe is we are able to filter traffic, recognize traffic, and prevent Cobalt Strike usage from the outset? Because then, as you have seen with the statistics and the data, then we can actually filter a huge load of, for example, attacks. Mostly low level and low effort, but it's usually the low effort stuff that gets us in the end. And what I'm also asking myself is, because the threat is so rising, we should pay attention to these commercial and freely available offensive tools. We need to understand them better. We need to understand their usage from different threat actors better. And we need to understand how they're built in order to increase and really focus on the prevention of these threats. And this is what this workshop will be all about, and the discussion will all about. With that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you might have.